Today, on this episode of What She's Having, we're popping the cork and maybe tearing up a few contracts with our fabulous friend and powerhouse family law attorney, Melanie Mandles. She's the woman behind some of the smoothest splits and fiercest fresh starts in Southern California. And trust us, she's seen it all.
From courtroom drama, prenups, and postnups, we're getting real about love, money, and why a savvy lawyer is just as essential as a savvy therapist. So grab your notepad and a pen and let's get into it. Because today we're having what she's serving:
Freedom, fresh starts, and fierce representation. Thank you, Melanie, for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. You are a secret weapon. You really are. Like
Ooh,
you,
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why in full disclosure, Melanie is a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for decades.
25 years.
Yep.
Around, yeah.
I did your makeup for your wedding.
You sure did, which
you
was
know that?
25 years
that's
ago
wild.
Yeah.
in December. So maybe like 27, 28 years.
Yes.
I remember the night I met you.
Me too.
So, yeah.
I met you. I fell in love with you right away. And you said that you were a family law attorney. And I said to you, I'm sure all of your friends say, well, if I ever get divorced, you're going to be my attorney.
Yes.
And you were my attorney for my divorce.
Yes.
And I say that you're my secret weapon because you are calm, you are collected, you are so thoughtful in what you say, how you react. And divorce is the craziest, most emotionally fueled time. So to have someone like you on my side during such drama and duress was really amazing. And I'm so grateful for you.
Well, I was happy to be there for you.
Thank
So.
you. And I'm so excited to share all of your knowledge because you are an attorney on so many high-powered cases and nobody knows.
Yeah, I don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it.
No.
And we're not going to talk about your
Which is
clients.
very rare nowadays for someone not to spill the beans and want that notoriety. So kudos
Right.
to you. That's
Thank
huge.
you.
And I think that's
Thank
the
you.
reason why you get so many incredible clients because they love that it's just under the radar. You're not there for any accolades. You're just there to do your job and go home.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I have to say this is I hope I never have to work with you, but I hope I get the opportunity to refer you out as people do need you that I know.
Thank you. Yeah. I always say that. I say that to people too, that I love to see friends socially and, be together and have good times. But I want everybody to be happy. That's the bottom line. I
Yeah.
don't wish anyone
Yeah. But a lot of
a
times
family law controversy. That's for sure.
divorce, at the end of it, there is happiness a lot of times. People do
Yes.
find that.
Look
So,
at Jen. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
That's
our
true.
poster child.
yeah.
Yes. The second half is the better half.
That's
the
true.
whole point
Yeah.
of it, right?
It can
I
be.
agree.
Yeah. So let's get into it. What inspired you to specialize in family law?
It wasn't like as a child I thought, oh my God, I just want to be a divorce lawyer. Like that sounds so amazing. That did not happen. When I was in college, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And my dad had always said, you should go to law school. You should absolutely go to law school. You don't have to be a lawyer. Having a law degree is so important. There's so many things you could do with it. And I think it's, right up your alley. So I thought, well, let me get a job at a law firm and see if I like working at a law firm before I, apply to law school. So I did get a job in a law firm in Century City. I was at UCLA, so I was looking for something kind of close. And it said family law. And I thought, I didn't really even know what family law was at the time. I thought maybe it's estate planning, maybe it's like contracts in small businesses that
Yeah.
are family owned. I wasn't even really sure what family law was. Divorce had not been a big part of my world. My parents divorced when I was so little. So I always knew them as having like, mom's house, dad's house. Divorce was not a big part of my childhood. So I really didn't know a lot about family law. So I started working for this firm. I quickly found out what family law was. It's like, oh, family law is divorce and paternity and custody and all of this. And I really fell in love with the people at the firm where I was working. and I just saw how much they cared and what a difference they were making, and just being in the lunchroom and hearing them talk about their cases and everything, and I thought, "This is, like, an area of the law where you can really make an impact. You can really help people." And, I just fell in love with the people that I worked with and the thought that I could actually the way my personality is, I could actually do well in this field and I can make a difference. And so I just stuck with it. And that firm where I started as a clerk when I think I was 20 years old is the firm where I still am.
So
So I've only had only
what
worked at
was
one
the
firm.
name of the firm when you started?
So it was called Wasser, Rosenson and Carter.
And today the name of the firm is?
Wasser, Cooperman and Mandels.
And that's Melanie Mandles.
Yeah.
It's incredible because 'cause I'm so you're such a badass boss bitch, you know,
I
because
love you,
for
Jen.
you to be a partner and a woman and to really thrive in this, because you have to go up against a lot of men, and I know the attorney that I dealt with was a man, and that was tough, but you just always had a smile on your face, nothing ruffled your feathers, no email was, like, harsh enough to upset you, like, you really kept your cool, and to see you in this position, like, you really deserve it.
You're so sweet. Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
What is your trick that you keep or your secret weapon in your pocket to keep your cool? Like, how do you
You
not
know,
get
it's
ruffled?
it's
I would
interesting.
be frustrated.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's not there's not a trick, it's just years of experience. So, when I started out, and my husband would tell you this, there were days where I came home and I was just a wreck. Like, I would cry. I would say like,
Mm,
"Oh my god, this is so awful. The situation is so bad. These poor kids, mainly these poor kids." That's
mhm.
what kept
Yeah.
hurting me. I wasn't a parent yet, but I could just see how the kids were suffering, and that really hurt me, and that's sort of where I thought I need to do what I can to get my client to see how important it is to protect the children. There and so it was really emotional for me at first, and then I came to realize me being emotional with my client wasn't helping my client. Me saying to a client who was being, unreasonable, You know what? I got you. Let's go for it. I just wanna I'll champion whatever you wanna champion," was not really what the client needed to hear. What the client needed to hear was what the right outcome would you should be, would be, and it when you get to that point in your career where you've seen enough of the same scenarios play out, you really can predict. I mean, I can predict how any divorce will go. I'm not I might as well, like, have a crystal ball. I could tell you, give me the facts, I will say exactly what's gonna happen because
That is amazing.
they all end up in very predictable resolutions. I mean, not all is too
Is
strong of a word.
is it true that there is like sort of like a calculation that input in and then you get sort of what the output is for the divorce,
Are
like
you talking about the money?
division of
Yeah,
assets
Oh,
and
yeah.
sure. Yeah, and we can talk about that specifically if you guys want to, but in everything I know is for California. So family law is different in every state. So California law will be different than the laws in other states. So, but I could tell you in California, we have community property, we have separate property. So the separate property is what you come to the marriage with. And then community property is what you earn and save together during your marriage. So we look and say like what did they each come to the marriage with, what's separate property, and then what did they build together? What's community? So it is very formulaic
And let's
in
talk
that
about
regard.
inheritance.
Okay, so inheritance is separate property. So even if you inherit money during your marriage, it's still your separate property. If you inherit $10 million and it goes into Goldman Sachs, right? And 10 years later, you get divorced and it's now $15 million. All $15 million is your separate property.
But if the Goldman Sachs account is a joint account with your husband's,
if it's money that if what's in the Goldman Sachs account represents money that the two of you saved together from your earnings during marriage, then it's community property.
so
right,
you always keep your inheritance
You
portion
separate.
of
always keep
it
your inheritance
separate.
separate. You keep your separate property separate.
Right,
Right.
so if you're married and everything is community property, but you get an inheritance from a family member, you open up your own account and put the money over there because the minute you commingle it, it's now community property.
I love that you remember commingle. We call it the C word in family law. So yeah, commingling is problematic in family law because a lot of people, they live their lives like, we don't get married thinking we're going to get divorced, and that's why family law can be so shocking to people because they just had no idea. I had no idea. I got married and I had money prior to getting married, and then I inherited some more money, or my parents gave me some money, or my parents gave us money and we bought a house, or this, that, and everything just went in joint accounts, and we've been married 25 years, and now what's what? And they don't understand that that's where the forensic accountants come in to really unwind everything, and what they don't understand is what you just said, which is what is so beneficial is if you do get separate property, whatever you come to the marriage with, keep it separate, and then if you get more, keep that separate,
I think
and it
that
makes it so
people
much
get
easier.
married young, so they don't understand that. I think probably people who get married on like a second marriage or later in life would understand that. But
Right.
getting married young, I don't think I would have known that to
Yeah.
separate, not put in an inherit, not like I inherited anything or I would have, but I wouldn't have known to not put that in there.
And I think that's
That's
important, like, we do have a lot of young listeners, to the podcast, and I think it's great for them to, male or women to understand what you need to do when you go into a marriage, I think.
a little bit of research as to what is the best way to. And I think there's so much around, like, there's such a negative connotation around trying to get your assets in place. And to be honest, when I got married, I really was I married someone who had money, and he was already successful in his life, and I was, like, pissed about it. I
About
thought
your
we weren't
prenup?
going to do a prenup. We had been together for years. I was pissed, pissed. And now looking back, how could I have been pissed off? Like,
You needed to protect.
yeah, he needed to protect himself. And
So, when you signed your prenup, did you have an attorney present?
yes.
Oh.
However, let me tell you this. I had a male attorney. I had just met him. My husband decided to spring a prenup on me. I love you, honey, but I was pissed. My husband decided to spring it on me 5 days before the marriage. We had to get through it because we were going to Mexico 2 days before. So it was like a 3 day thing. I was upset. And I hired some random guy I didn't know, I had no relationship with, based on a recommendation from my husband's attorney, who he had an established relationship with, who was directing him. And I had it didn't feel right. I remember crying through the whole thing.
Mhm.
I almost was like, I'm not doing this. I don't even want to marry you. I was pissed, pissed.
Well,
Yeah.
she has an attorney, so it kind of.
Well, those types of arrangements, I write a lot of prenups. It's actually my favorite part of what I do. So, I always find it's really great, much more enjoyable to work with people who love each other than people who no longer love each
Yeah,
other.
because it feels
Yeah.
negative, like, when someone says there's, like, a power play, right? Because I can say, for me, what I learned when you get divorced is, especially coming, like, I'm a woman, so a lot of men control the money, and they try to control
Mhm.
the kids, and that's how they can get to you. So, like, a prenup feels negative if you're not the one with the assets. If you both come in with assets, it feels like, "Okay, this is fair, we'll talk about it," but it does feel a little negative.
Well, it's funny because in my experience, whenever I have a client come to me about a prenup, whether it's the person who's asking for the prenup or the person who's being told, "Hey, I'd like to get a prenup." It's usually the family or the financial advisors for the family that are encouraging the prenup because they can be really valuable and really important documents. So usually, whether you want the prenup or you're marrying the person who wants a prenup, you come to the office like, oh, like this is just gonna suck,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And 9 times out of 10, at the time it's done, I will be told, "Oh my god, I'm so glad we did this. This was nothing like I thought it would be. I'm so glad we went through this process, and I feel so great about how this went
I
down
wish
and
you
what we
were my
did."
But
attorney.
Well,
why?
but it takes me 2 to 3 months to write or negotiate a prenup. We do it very methodically. I don't do anything quickly. Um we have statutory requirements, like a prenup has to sit in final form for 7 days in California before it can be signed in order to be valid. And the thought is you have to look at it, have it. It has to be the agreement you negotiated, and
Did you
you
have that
have
for
to
7
agree
days? I don't think so.
No, I don't
you
think
have to
so.
agree, like, this is the agreement.
Mine was such an icky, and my husband knows all of this because his attorney at the time was was organizing his estate. Like, but the problem for me, what was so icky is I didn't meet him 2 years ago. I had already been with him forever. We
Yeah,
just never decided to get married. We decided we were going to get married for our children. We already had kids at the time.
right.
So when he sprung this on me, obviously I was like, part of me understood. At first, I was shocked that he wasn't doing it, and then when he
Mhm.
did it, I was like, "Okay." But when they came to me, when I tell you they served me a book, no joke, I printed it, it was like this. I was in tears.
And you were already
No, no, I
in
was in
Mexico at the
no, no, I
wedding?
wasn't in Mexico, I was at home, I had to
Okay.
get through it.
We're trying
I
to find
called
holes in your prenups. We're trying to find that's what we're
I'm
looking
not
for
leaving
here.
my husband, he's not
No,
leaving.
I know you're
I
happily
always say
married.
this
I
to him,
know.
"I love you and you love me, God damn it." But I had my brother at the time because in my life, he was, like, really the only one that I could give that to that was savvy enough to get through it, that wasn't going to be emotional about it,
Right.
because I was very emotional, my parents would have been emotional. They wouldn't even have known what to do with it. When I read through it, some of the things were like, I mean, the red marks, I had to vacate my home if he passed away in, like, 72 hours. I was like, "What?" And he was upset that his attorney didn't go through
Right.
and, like, change a lot of the verbiage, like, to your point, that you spend a lot of time
Yeah.
going through it so that when the person receiving it that is going to obviously be emotional about it isn't like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck?"
I I will tell you, I see a lot of, awful prenups, and
Mine was awful.
a lot of them are written by people who are these are lawyers who they think they're doing a good job. They think they're protecting their client fiercely. I look at being a family law lawyer like I want if I'm working on a prenup, my goal is to have a happy marriage for my client. I can count on my hands how many times I've been doing family law for 28 years now, how many times a prenup I've written, they've gotten divorced. And the reason I actually think there's no statistics that are kept anywhere, but I think if you have a well-written prenup, you have a far less chance of getting divorced than without it. And the reason is doing a prenup the right way, you lay all your cards out on the table. Okay, here's what I have
Makes
financially. These are
sense.
my assets. These are my debts. This is how much money I earn. You disclose it to each other. And then you talk about what are we going to do about money during our marriage? How are we going to build wealth together? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How are we going to pay our bills, save our money, build wealth together? And there's all kinds of things that you can agree to that make you feel good. I mean, I had one agreement I did a year ago, and I represented the husband in it. And the wife was like, "Will you please come to our wedding? Like, I know it's kinda
Aw.
we're getting married in 6 weeks, but, like, can you come? I would love to have you there." It's because we talk about things as a team. Like,
You're
it's
like a
Important.
this is your
therapist.
first step as a team.
Yeah.
And so
Uh,
the selection of a lawyer, whether it be for a prenup or for a divorce, is so crucial.
Mhm.
And the reason is, like you said, when you
I
were
didn't
getting
have
married,
the opportunity for
you don't
that.
know no one knows family law. Who knows family I didn't even know what family law was when I was 19 or 20 years old. And now I know it. But we're not supposed to know this, right? We're supposed to fall in love and get married and have kids and a family. And then if divorce happens, you're kind of a deer in headlights. We just don't know what to expect. So for me, your lawyer is so crucial because you're going to this lawyer who has a practice and their name on the door, and you're thinking that they're going to give you good advice.
Right.
And if they are just wanting to champion unreasonable thoughts or try to screw the other side or get involved in the emotions, you're you're only I feel bad for those people because they're doing what they are told they're supposed to do, and they think that the advice is good because they don't know the difference between good advice and bad advice. So, I think in family law more than any other area of the law, the lawyer you choose, you need somebody who's reasonable, who's experienced, who you want somebody who's busy but not too busy, right? If you come in and the guy's just like waiting for you all day, you're like the one client of the day. Okay, that's kind of a warning sign,
Right,
right?
right.
But you also, by the same token, don't want to schedule an appointment with somebody who can't see you for 2 weeks. That's a warning sign too. That's
Right.
somebody who's just way too overcommitted to really attend to you and what you need. But
I love what you just said. It's like your first act in a marriage as a team.
yeah,
So it is so important. Like it shouldn't be, and tell me if I'm wrong, like, now looking back, it shouldn't be a bad thing. Like,
It
I
shouldn't
I
be.
don't think a prenup I actually now moving forward, I understand why people would do it. I would do it again. If I
Mhm.
got married again,
Yes.
I would do it. I would encourage my children to do it because I think it does protect, like, the stuff that you have earned on your own. But I also like what you said, like that team that, you're building this team and you talk about finances together. Like, how are we as a team going to create and generate revenue together instead of just taking from the pot that somebody made on their own?
Yes.
Emotion talking about, finances is very emotionally
Yes.
triggered topic. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, so it seems very like a positive way to start your relationship to talk about that and to make a plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is a post-nup?
So postnup is similar to a prenup, but you do it after you're married instead of before.
Well, why would you do
Why would you
that?
do that?
That's a
Sorry,
good
sucker, that
question.
ain't happening. I'm
No,
not
I'll
signing
tell you.
nothing.
I'll tell you, that
I don't get
often
it.
oftentimes people will start the discussions about a prenup too late. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a call where someone's like, "Oh my god, I've been meaning to call you for, like, 9 months. And, life is so busy and work and
But what
travel, whatever. And anyway, I'm getting married in 4 weeks, and I'm just hoping we can, like, whip up a quick prenup." And I have to say, we don't whip up prenups. I need 2 to 3
I
months
love you
to
for
get it
that.
done. And, so then an option, sort of a plan B, is to do a postnup where we can still talk about money and property and all of that in in a postnuptial agreement, which is done after the wedding takes place. It's a little bit of a different process in the eyes of the law. So prenups are more favorable, but postnups are an option
And
if you
people
run out
go
of
into
time.
this, like, voluntarily. They're like, "Oh, yeah, totally."
Sometimes if people don't have they kind of agree conceptually, yes, we should have a prenup, but then we just ran out of time, so let's just do this. Let's go
Post-nup?
forward with the wedding
Yeah.
and
I mean,
go
I
on our
wouldn't
honeymoon
sign
and then
it.
come back and do it. And sometimes the clients will call and do the postnup, and other times I just don't hear from them again. And I just don't, like
I
wish
wouldn't. I'd be
everybody
like,
the
"Sorry,
best.
sucker. Sorry, sucker, you signed your life
No, but I
away."
think now that we're older and
Yeah,
we understand money and we understand finances, it's like I think now you would. I think now if you were like, "Hey, I'm gonna have this shotgun wedding,
right.
but let's do the postnup,"
Yes.
you
I
would
think there's a lot of
responsibly
things
do
I
it.
would do. I mean, I'm happy it all worked out great, but I a lot of things I didn't think about, when I got divorced, when I got remarried, I just kind of took over, but I would encourage it for my children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
of
for sure.
yeah,
course.
that's
Yeah.
something that I didn't think of, but I didn't have anything really going into our marriage, so
Hmm.
that's the thing. Now, what would you say are some misconceptions about divorce?
Um, yeah, there are a lot because people just don't know. And there's a term that we sometimes use. We call it the Beverly Hills Choir, which is when people come in and they say, "Oh, well, I know this because I heard it from my, neighbor down the street." So we've all
Oh,
this
that's
is
funny.
the
I'm sure
term
that
Beverly
happens all
Hills
the
Choir has
time.
been around since I started practicing law, and it was like it must have just been the Beverly Hills Choir that all these rumors and myths that go around about what family law is and what it's not, um, are very prevalent in the community, and people feel very strongly, like,
I'm
"No, no,
part
no,
of
I
that.
know."
I think I know because my friends tell me, but you told me today you debunked a lot of those.
Yeah, so the significance of 10 years in the state of California, I think, is the most commonly misunderstood concept. So where 10 years is relevant is if you are married for less than 10 years, the presumptively correct duration of a spousal support obligation is half the length of the marriage, right? Not precisely, not like to the day, but that's sort of the presumption in the
So if
law.
you're married 8 years, you get 4 years
Yeah,
of spousal
roughly. And
support.
there's some arguments either way if it should be, shorter or longer, but that's the presumption in the law. But that presumption goes away after 10 years of marriage. So it somehow has been commonly thought that, well, after I am married for 10 years, that means I get support for the rest of my life.
Right. That's why people say
And
they
that's
won't
not true.
remarry because they don't want the spousal support to go away. That's what I've always
Yeah.
heard.
I've had people say to me and have heard so many stories in our family law community about the client who comes in and is like, "Oh my god, thank god. Okay, well, at least I got through 10 and a half years. So, whew, so now, Yeah, that was a real doozy, but at least
I'll
I
get
get
support for the rest
support
of
for
my
the rest of
life.
my life and
Yes.
Imagine that disappointment.
Yeah.
right. Oh, I've seen it in real time, and I've had to be the one to say like, "Oh boy, I'm not sure where you heard this." So the other 10-year myths I would say are somehow, some way people think that all prenups expire after 10 years, which is not true.
Do they expire at all?
No. Unless you can have what we call a sunset clause in a prenup, which says that it will expire. We don't really do that a lot, but
Like
I've
you
I've
set
seen it.
your
If you make
years,
it past a certain amount of years.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the other 10-year myth,
your milestone. You have like milestones you have to hit.
yeah, on your family calendar,
Yeah.
You're
big
like,
happy
yes,
faces.
I got it. I
Yeah.
got there. Let's get
Um,
to the next one.
and then the other one is I've heard from multiple people this thought that after 10 years of marriage, all property is community property. So
Oh,
even like the inheritance that we were talking about
That's
earlier,
interesting.
and it's not just one person or 2 or 3 or 4 who has said that. I've heard it multiple times that people think like the 10 years is the all important date for a
Now,
marriage in
is
California.
this just a California thing? Like, are other states different about this, dramatically different? Like,
Well, there are some real distinctions in some of the states. Like the states in the South have very different family law rules than we do. I think we're I always find when I have a case where we're co-counsel with New York, that or some of the East Coast states that our laws are different but similar.
do you think we protect people more?
It's so It's interesting. In California, we protect separate property vigorously. So, California has wonderful protection for separate property. In other states, for example, let's say you come to the marriage with $10 million, to go back to my example of the $10 million in a Goldman account. Some states will say that the appreciation on that account during marriage is marital property. So that you get what you can exit with what you came with,
mhm,
but
but
the
any interest that
growth
you
would be
made, right.
right. So that's one example of how some states are different. But where California is really high, I think I'm told the highest in the land is on spousal support. We have very high spousal support because one of the factors that we look to in spousal support is the marital standard of living, and it costs so much to live here, as we all know. So that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why California has high spousal support.
Another, issue is child support. So, it's not when the child turns 18, it's when the child finishes high school.
Yeah. So the later of the 2.
Right.
So right, so if you have a child who's a senior in high school at age 18, then the child support goes through graduation of high school.
Exactly.
And some states, by the way, have it go through college, but
Oh,
not California. We end at high school.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
see?
interesting. I did learn that, like, just 'cause we have a lot of blended families in my life.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Can you share a story without naming names of clients who really surprised you in their resilience that made you proud through this divorce?
I'm happy to say I've had a number of people, a number of clients who have come in absolutely devastated, just thinking like, how is this happening to me? This is not what I wanted from my life. This wasn't supposed to happen. And they just get through the process and rebuild a beautiful next chapter of their life. I've seen it so many times. I actually have in my desk at the top drawer, I keep notes that clients will sometimes send me
Mm, that's
just as a
nice.
thank you or
Yeah.
something, or like a wedding announcement. And I keep those because they remind me that what I'm doing is important and to keep it up, you know?
When you feel like, you're losing it all, right? Like, we don't know whose fault, it doesn't matter, but your life is changing, your family's changing, and you feel like, how are you ever gonna be happy again? And then these clients come back and they show you, like, I'm in love
I
again.
love it so
I've
much.
created a new career for myself. My life is so much better.
I love it so much. That's like my favorite part is seeing people move on and create more happiness, and especially when their kids are thriving. Like that's the part
Yeah.
that really
Yeah.
really gets
Yes.
me. I've had moments where I had a really crazy moment years ago where I represented the dad and the mom had some serious addiction issues, like really really tragic bad addiction issues. And that so bad that she couldn't even hide it. Like, the school was calling, the friends were calling, everybody was like, "This is a problem," and he said, "We have to do something about this. I'm scared my daughter is not safe." And so we did what we needed to do to protect the child, and it was, pretty devastating for the mom because she lost custody of her daughter, but it was pretty clear that she wasn't in any shape. I mean, it was like, thinking about it now, it was crazy. Never seen anything like that. Living out of her car, though she was getting, I think, like $25,000 a month in child support, but it was all going to drugs. And yeah, and so it happened that the client, so she really hit rock bottom and she went to rehab. And my client said, "I will pay for rehab on one condition. We're not doing 30 days. We're not doing 60 days. We're doing 90 days.
Mm.
Okay. That's the only way that this is going to work." And so she went to rehab for 90 days and she came out and she went to I'm sorry,
Outpatient.
outpatient afterwards and really stuck with it, which was so great. And the client had a party and invited me to come to his party, and I came there and I saw the daughter who I'd never met before. I had only seen her in photos. And she came up to me and she just walked up to me and she said, "I know who you are and thank you for saving my mom."
Oh,
And I just thought, like, I don't know. I don't it just
That's amazing.
I you don't think of it like that. Like, you don't think of
Yeah, and probably saving that little girl as well, like
yeah,
from
right.
danger. That could have been
Yeah.
terrible for
Tragic.
her as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's a
So,
tough place for you as a mom,
yeah,
as a woman to say, no, I'm going to take your mom away from you to save, to
yeah.
help her and to help you.
So there's been moments where it's really hit me, sort of the magnitude of what it is that we do, and I've luckily never had it hit me the wrong way where like, "Wow, I think we took the wrong approach."
Right.
Thank God. I need to, like, knock on I've
Yeah.
never that's never happened where because I'm super cautious and I don't wanna stir the pot and we only go to court if we absolutely have to. I mean, am so rarely at the courthouse that my office jokes with me if I have to go to the office, they'll print out, like, a map and put it on my desk. I'm like, "Very funny."
To the court. Well, let's talk about custody because that's such an important part of a divorce. What are some misconceptions with custody?
I would say the most common one is that a lot of times the stay-at-home parent, if there is a stay-at-home parent in a marriage, um, sometimes thinks, "Well, since I was the one that was responsible for all the diapers and the bottles and the packing the lunches and all that, that I'm the one who's going to have the majority of the time with our children. Just that's just the way it should be." Um, we don't the laws have really evolved over time where if you are a parent, mom or dad, and you might not have been responsible for all those tasks for years, if you're willing to do it now, we're seeing the courts really very happy to give you the opportunity.
Right.
And so that is one of the things that's a misconception is I've had a lot of clients say, "Well, I'm the one that is responsible for the kids. So the other parent should see the children perhaps like a Saturday lunch type of thing, and then that's it. And then I've got the rest of it because I'm the one that takes them to all their sporting events. I'm the one that is the snack parent. I'm the one who does all this." And we see that that's really not. I mean, one of the judges who's a retired judge who in our community we all adore, and she has a very funny thing that she says, which is she says, "Do you know what we say to a dad who hasn't been involved at all in raising the kids, admits, 'I've never changed a diaper, I never did a bottle, I never packed a lunch, I never put him to bed, I never bathed him,' whatever. Do you know what we say to that person?" And you're kinda, like, wondering, like, "What's she gonna say?"
Mhm.
She goes, "Come on down, like,
Yeah.
welcome to parenting, it's
Yeah.
time to shine,
Yeah.
like,
That's interesting.
it's all changing now." So we see that a lot, and so I would say that's probably the most common for custody misconception.
And do most men typically step up to the plate when that happens, where you see them take on 50%? Or do most of them go like, no, I'd like to, like, I'm good with 70/30. I'm good with 60/40.
It's funny that you're using the numbers because I will tell you, men get really fixated on numbers. It's almost like they wanna go to their friends and say, "I have 50-50
Yeah.
custody." I
Yeah.
have actually had cases where we've negotiated, whether I'm representing the mom or the dad, where the dad just wants to be able to say he has 50-50 custody, but he's not actually gonna take 50-50 custody. But there's, like, an
I mean,
implied, like,
That I'm
"Can you
I know
such a
those
just
good
guys.
dad.
can we just say,
I know
like,
those
if we're
guys.
out
Mhm.
together, can we just
It
if
is a
anybody
bragging
asks, will you
rights,
just
yeah.
tell all of our friends that I have 50-50? I really won't take it, but can we agree that you'll tell people I do?" It's so
It's almost
funny.
like because if they don't get that, it's almost like the courts took it away from them, and they're not
Yeah,
equipped to be as good of a parent. It shows, like, the equal parenting
that's
where
right.
But in
it's
California,
funny.
it's like they defer, that's 50-50, right? I mean, that's
Well,
really how
so
it
it's not
goes.
always 50, so it's the thought is that it should be joint legal and joint physical custody, but joint physical custody doesn't mean 50-50. So if there's a family where one parent is available to pick the kids up from school every day and the other parent has to be at his or her office in, across town, then maybe the parent who is more available has more time because they have the hours after school until the other parent can come get them. So I always try to make sure that the schedules are best for the kids, right? So, and always a parent is preferable to childcare,
Yep.
always, right? So if I've had a lot of dads say, "Well, I want my 50-50 and da-da." And so my nanny will pick up the kids and I'll say, "But if your wife is able to get the kids, why doesn't your wife get the kids? Take them home, grab a snack, do some homework, hang out, whatever. And then when you're done with work, then you can come and pick them up." And usually that's okay. And I'm trying to be really cautious about moms and dads because in my references to them, because things are so different than they were when we were kids, right? So I have a lot of women clients. The majority of my women clients are the income earners in their marriages, the higher income earners
Oh.
Oh, I love that.
in their marriages. So they might be the parent that is that needs the dad to go pick up the kids after school and hang out with them until mom can get there. So it's a very different world now,
Yeah.
and it's changing every year. More and more households, the woman makes more money than the man.
I
More and
love that. I
more.
love that for us.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
So let's talk about forensic accounting.
Oh, wow. So fun.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the part of the podcast of, like, people who have insomnia.
Yeah.
They should start now.
Yeah.
Like, just
But does
Because
forensic
that
you always
really
hear of a
accounting.
work? I
forensic
mean,
excited accountant, and you always get so excited for,
you
like,
feel like they're gonna
who's
find
going through the divorce. And then I always hear from friends, again, I'm part of the Beverly Hills Choir, that, well, we didn't find that,
we
we
didn't
didn't
find
find that. So I'm
anything.
always like, why did they
Mhm,
go down the road of this expense?
mhm.
What does that forensic accountant
Yeah,
really come across?
so forensic accountants are really helpful. I mean, I have one in every single divorce case that I'll do because I'm, like, notoriously awful at math, right? So I never balanced a checkbook, not once.
Either
I
of us.
just don't do it. I use what I
Wow.
call the force. So I just assume that there's gonna be money to pay the bills.
You're like me. If I don't look at it, it's not there.
I
Yeah.
so I always say to my clients, you always wanna have the the person on your team needs to be the best at what they do. So when I build,
That's smart.
like, just to digress for a second, and then I'll get
Yeah.
back to your question about the accounts, but when I build the success team for a divorce, I'm doing the legal part, I have a forensic accountant doing the math, and then I have a co-parenting counselor doing the custody. Because I you know me, I mean, I love my boys, they're the most important things in my life, but, like, I'm not a child development expert.
Right.
Thank God they're thriving. Somehow things went my way, um, and my husband and I figured it out, and, they're great kids, but I don't wanna tell people what their kids need or what's best for their kids. I don't know anything about their kids,
Right.
and so I always say, have the best people help you with every facet of this. So we have law, we have money, we have kids. So have the therapists who are specialists in co-parenting and childhood development, have them advise you on what's best for your kids. Have the accountants do the math, I'll do the law. So on the forensic accounting, we have to do all these disclosures. They help with getting all of the information together to do the financial disclosures. They'll do the support analysis, figure out support is there spousal or child support payable in this case, and if so, what are those numbers? Those are all the calculations that they do. I think what you're talking about is if there's a level of distrust and
Right.
somebody goes in and tries to find something. Yeah, it's true. It's not we don't have cases where there's like a big aha moment very frequently. We do have them. We have had them, but usually things line up the way that we think they will. And the question is, how much money do you want to spend on a forensic accountant to try to figure out if
Right,
there was
because it's
something awry?
expensive.
It can be well, and we oftentimes have people come in and say, I know that she had a boyfriend or he had a girlfriend, and I want to know how much money was spent on that.
Right. Oh,
Okay,
that's
so you just
rough.
think about that for a second. Like, what's involved with that? Okay, so there's all these dinner charges. How do we know? Like,
Does that even
was
account for, like, does that money
it
somehow get
can
reimbursed
it
to
it can. So it's technically if you spend money for if you were spending money on like gifts for a boyfriend or a girlfriend, then technically that's what's called a misappropriation of community property and it would be reimbursable. So like if your husband went to Van Cleef's and bought his girlfriend a $30,000 necklace,
like, kick his ass?
yeah. Well, first of all, he'd probably be dead as just getting to know you. I fear for his life.
Yep.
I'd be pissed.
I know you
But do you
I'm
get
just saying.
$30,000 back or
So if he took the $30,000 out of a community account, then the 30,000 has to go back to the community account.
I
Yes,
like
you would have
that.
to replenish it.
I like that.
And like gambling is another one. Gambling, you're not supposed to if you take a ton of money out of accounts to gamble.
Yeah, because it's not even is gambling even, like, a real legal I mean, I guess some places it is. Well, Vegas, but
It's
it's
just something you're not really in the eyes of family law, it's something you're not listen, betting on the game with your friends or going to the horse races or something. I'm not
what about this for not allocating money properly? What about your wife goes shopping
uh-huh.
and she spends a lot on
Mhm.
clothes, handbags? Is that considered we have to pay them back?
No. No, those are
Oh, I had thought of a couple
look
good
at the 2 of
things.
you just
Wait,
lit up. The
wait.
2 of you are like,
Tell me
"Yay."
if this is true.
Okay, here we
Okay,
go.
so you have a legal date of separation,
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
So and your husband, like, makes X amount of money, whatever that is, and he now closes this big deal during that legal point of separation, and then you hook up with your husband during that
I
time of
love where this is
separation.
going.
Tell me where we are with that. Does that new money now count towards your whole
It can.
divorce?
It can. So
Mhm.
I've seen scenarios
I
without
mean,
talking
tell
about
me women
any
aren't, like,
yeah.
dressing in lingerie and going to his
Oh,
office
no,
just
so
to seduce him to get what is theirs.
there there I've seen
Listen,
scenarios like that.
ladies, listen closely.
I've seen scenarios where there has been some arguably specific actions targeted at moving the date of separation for financial gain.
And
Yeah.
that works.
Yeah, it usually does.
Okay, I'm just saying, ladies.
I mean, Jen could have unlocked. Like, that's a big one.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. I never needed to do that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying
I'm
in
not talking
general.
about for you. I'm talking about for all the other women out there. It's
Yeah,
like
I think
that's a
for the ladies out there, just, be smart.
Well, and also
Or men out
for
there, be smart.
yeah, and it's also right. It doesn't matter just to know, it's important to know,
Yeah.
right? That this is the data separation. So the real point of what you were saying. So the data separation is when you've communicated to each other, the marriage is kaput, we're getting divorced, right? So and you move forward with the divorce. If you reconcile, and then at that point, in the eyes of the law, the income you earn is your separate property from that point forward. But then if you reconcile later, it can be now you have a new data separation. So the target date
the
for
back
division has
date
just
for
been
yeah,
advanced.
blurred.
Right. Now, I this isn't my guess is if there was a fact pattern where it was shown that this was kind of like a manipulation and like
Yeah, premeditated.
a premeditated, like one night
Yeah.
thing, I don't know. A court might say, this wasn't really a reconciliation. This wasn't really a genuine effort to preserve the marriage. This was just for financial gain. And it's, I could see that happening. I've never seen that actually play out. I have seen where people have reconciled for a short period of time, but truly reconciled. and then realized later on, like, "Oh my god, that kinda made a big swing on the balance sheet." That reconciliation. I've seen lots of people go like, "Oh my
Yeah, I
god,
Like,
think
like, how
why
that's
much did
did
something
that
cool
I?
cost
that
me?" Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
"How much did that weekend in Cabo
Yeah,
cost me?"
uh-huh.
Yeah, so but so, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about custody, right? And it's not like 50-50 um automatically. I mean, like California kind of is. They really want people to have as much custody as possible. But in terms of fighting for custody, in terms of the toll that it takes on a family and
Mhm,
on the children,
mhm.
let's talk about, your advice and the things that you've seen where you wish would, maybe go a different way and looking back, how people should handle things differently.
To me, I think you always have to just put your kids first. You have to think of it that way, right? Like, okay, if this is happening, this isn't the way that I wanted it. This isn't the way that my spouse wanted it. This isn't the way that our kids wanted it, probably. But this is what we're facing. And the most important people here are the children because they're innocent, right? They're looking to you to figure this out, to be the grown-ups and figure it out. So, what I would say the most important thing to do in any kind of custody issue is just always keep your eye on how the children are involved in this. And the goal would be as little as possible. And I see parents, I was thinking about this when we were kind of talking about the concepts we were going to discuss today. I've had parents say to me with like teenage kids, they're super close with their kids. And so they overshare and they forget like the boundaries
That it's not their
that
friends
this is
Yeah.
not your friend. This is not
and not your therapist either.
right. This is why we have our girlfriends and our wine and our
Yes.
therapists, right? Is so
Yes.
Yeah.
that we can talk through these things and in a comfortable way that's not going to impact our kids. I've had clients say to me, "Well, she asked me what was going on and I'm not going to lie to her." Like, as if that's a justification.
Mm.
"Oh, so you're super honest. Bravo. Like, what do you
Right.
want for that?"
Yeah.
You don't get points for being honest about what's going on in your divorce with your kids.
Right. You need to protect them.
Talk to someone else. Don't talk to your so, I've just had that happen so many times. Well, she asked me a question about what's going on, and I wasn't gonna we have just a wonderful close relationship, and I'm just not gonna tell her, "I'm not talking to you about this." I mean, that would be so rude, so I told her everything, and I'm like,
Right.
"Oh god, this is not what did daddy have an affair?" Well, I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
Of I told her the truth. And
I've heard
as
that so much too.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like they feel so justified. Like I am such a truthful person. I'm a big advocate of being truthful.
That's
But there's
just poking the bear
sometimes
to get
where
a
you just
manipulation of
don't you
sides.
just say, "You know what, sweetie, like, I love you, and dad and I are gonna get through this, and we
Right.
both love you so much, but I really this is just between the 2 of us.
Right.
So
And
there's
you
certain things in your life that you're not gonna share with me, and and I appreciate that everyone's entitled to privacy, and this is something that you don't need to be involved in. What you need to know is that we both love you, and we've got your back, and you're gonna be just fine."
right.
Yeah. That's
And
great
if you don't
advice.
have a healthy marriage, you could have a healthy divorce,
Yeah,
right? I
that's
mean,
really true.
I think it's important to go in wanting to do the right things and not like scarring your family
Oh,
members.
yeah, and I tell people too, sometimes they think, especially if there's a level of upset that they're coming into the divorce. Sometimes people will come and say, "You know what? No hard feelings. The marriage ran its course, right? And um, we just need to separate and we want to settle up on the finances and figure out with the kids and all of that." And I love that. That's
Mhm.
like my favorite type of scenario
Yeah.
because we could just all get in there and figure it out and create the team and get it done peacefully and amicably. The legal fees are very low. The accounting fees are very low. The time that it takes to get it done is very short, and we just get it done, right? Other times people come in and they're like fit to be tied. I mean, they're furious, they're upset, they've been cheated on, they've been lied to, they've been this, they've been that. And that is they want to have like a day of reckoning,
Yeah.
right? They want the other person to pay.
They want suffering from
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody wins in that scenario.
No.
Just the attorneys.
No, and I've had truly, I've said to clients who are just wanting to just go for broke and wanting to do this, what I've said to them, I'm just not the right attorney for you. I don't want to do that. That's not the way that I do it. Because when I go to court, which is pretty rare, the judges who I know from study groups and seminars, and they know who we know who each other are. I want them to look at me and go, "What is she doing here?" Like, what? Because
Yeah.
I know that she tried everything she could to get this
Right.
settled. So somebody's not playing fair here. And I actually had that happen. It was really, really funny. I was in court one day, and I just done a seminar, uh, maybe like a few months before then, with a judge. We present seminars to like the Los Angeles County Bar, the Beverly Hills Bar, on topics in family law, just like updated law. Uh, it's You guys would fall asleep. It's so boring, but this is what we do. So I had just done one a couple of months before, and one of the judges was on this panel with me, and we had to get all of our things together. So we had a few meetings, and became friendly with this judge, and we talked about things in the law and everything. And he's like, "I never see you in my courthouse," and I said, "Well, I really try. No offense, but I try to stay." When he's like, "Thank God," because the courthouse is so burdened, in certainly in Los Angeles, and I think in most of California. But I go to court, and the courthouse is packed, and I think I was number 12 on the calendar. And the judge takes the bench, and he's looking at his calendar, and he's looking around. I mean, standing room only, there's not even a room to sit. And I was sort of towards the front because I'm painfully early to everything. It's like a personality quirk. So I was there early, and I got a good seat. And he had his glasses on. He's looking at his calendar, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh, Miss Mandles." He said, "You're in my courtroom today?" And I said, "Yes, Your Honor." And he said, "Oh, which case?" I said, "I'm actually number 12 on your calendar." He goes, "Oh, that's right. Okay, well, lovely to see you again, as always." And I said, "Oh, thank you, Your Honor." And the lawyer that I was opposite, who was sitting on the other side of the courtroom, looked across at me and goes, "You and me." So
So
on the calendar call, he was like, "I
let's
wanna talk
go.
to you." So we went in the courthouse into the hallway, and
Is that
he's
because the judge, he
He knew
will,
the judge was
yeah,
yeah,
gonna
he,
yeah.
favor
So
you.
he's like, "I don't know what just happened in there, but I'm not going back into that courtroom with
wow.
you, so let's just get this done right now."
Yeah,
And
that's
that
great.
was like, great. So that
Awesome.
type of thing, and it's not that I don't know the judges, I don't have dinners with
Yeah.
them or
Yeah,
socialize with them, but when they know that and it's not just me, it's my whole firm, because we're really uniform in the way that we approach our cases and the way we train our young lawyers about what to do, is just stay even keeled and don't get involved in these crazy things that your clients may wanna do, because they don't know any better. They're not bad people, they just are upset. And if you're
Yeah.
gonna champion, like, "Yeah, let's go for broke, let's go for
yeah,
sole legal custody." Sure, you should be able to move to Paris, Like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let's just figure out what will happen and get there quickly. That's
People are
my
I
so
love
approach.
that about
wounded.
you because there's some people who are, like, so in control that when they go through the divorce, they would rather give the attorneys the money
Oh,
than their
absolutely.
spouse.
And I always joke, I'm like, "Hey, this is what," there's attorneys in Los Angeles who are driven around in Bentleys. They're, I mean, it's not me. All right. So
Yeah.
I drive an electric car. Yes, thank you very much. I love it. But I was joking, like, I live in Encino. Like, this is I sleep great at night because I do a really good job every day. And I'm not
Yes,
trying to make
you're
more
not.
money or more cases,
Right,
and have the bills be any larger than they absolutely need to be. I just want to get it done. I want
right.
people to move
Yeah.
on with their lives, because at the end of the day, this divorce is not the final chapter in your relationship with your spouse. It's one chapter in your novel, which has so many more chapters to write. So to just go scorched earth and think that this is it
Yeah.
is
Yep.
so
Short-sighted because
short-sighted.
you see
Yeah.
them at the baseball games, at the
Oh,
graduations,
forget it. The
at
With
the
rest of your
with
life, you'll
kids,
be
yeah, the
it's
rest of your
life.
grandparents
life.
together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
grandparents.
you're
You're
like
True.
in the room of your kids having kids.
Yeah,
right.
it's true.
Right.
It's not
So the
Yeah.
worth
way
it.
you handle this
Yeah.
is so important. And I've had clients who have said to me, I've turned down cases because I've had clients really want to go nuts. And especially in cases where somebody is a public figure
Mm.
and they want to expose all of this. And I will say, I don't do that. I'm not in the business I don't talk to the press about any client ever.
Right.
And I'm not in the business of airing dirty laundry for financial gain, or just destruction of reputation. Like, no, thank you. Will not do it. And so I've had clients where I've said, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I really feel for you as a person, but I'm just not the right lawyer for you. And they just don't understand that. And I said, no, I'm really not the right lawyer for you. And I actually had one case years ago um, where I was working with a client, I really liked her. And then she just wanted to go crazy on her spouse who was a public figure. They were both public figures and they had 2 little kids. And I thought, "Oh, this is just not what you wanna do." And I said, "But if you I don't recommend it. I'm not gonna do this. And if you wanna do it, then I'm sure you'll find another lawyer in town who will do it." And she did, and I read about it, like, on
Oh, that's
TMZ, and it
terrible,
was
yeah.
just so painful to read about it. And then later, she wrote me and was like, "I am so sorry I did that. I should have never done that.
Mhm.
And I just wanted you to know."
Especially when you have children, it's like,
It doesn't
Yeah.
help
it doesn't
anyone.
help
It
any
doesn't benefit
yeah.
Yeah.
anyone. So, there's, there's young people listening that will be getting married. There's people listening that, you know, are thinking of divorce, afraid of divorce. If you could give advice to the young ones pre-marriage and the spouses kind of feeling like they're thinking about divorce, what are the 2 words of advice you would give?
Um, for pre-marriage, I would say think about what you want your marriage to look like. Make sure you guys are on the same page about everything. Talk about it. You know, talk about how you want your finances to go, how you want to build wealth together. Talk about what your finances are. Share that information and then make sure you're on the same page. Talk about children. Like, do you want to have children? How many kids do you want to have? You guys would be surprised. I have sometimes divorces happen kind of early on because people just think they want to have children and then they get married and then they realize, oh, one of us doesn't want to have children. I guess we should get divorced. And you just think, gosh, you guys didn't talk about that before.
Yeah, that seems weird.
That seems
It seems
crazy.
weird. It seems weird, but I've seen it happen. So talk about what you think, where you want to live, right? Talk about, sometimes people will say, um, I want to move back. How I loved being raised in Wisconsin, and I thought we'd always just move back to Wisconsin, and then the other person will be like, "Wisconsin? Like, I don't wanna live in Wisconsin." I don't
Yeah.
know. Not I've never been to Wisconsin, not saying anything bad about it, but just where are we gonna live? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna run our money? What are we gonna do about family? Where do we wanna live? All of those really big topics that you would think people talk about, you'd be amazed how many people don't actually talk about it because 'cause they're just in love and they figure everything will just work itself out,
Right.
and it's just really important to talk those things through. And then for people who are thinking about getting divorced, I would say don't do anything without really thinking it through. Um, Turn to the people that you love to talk these things through with, whether it's your family or your friends, so that you have your support team in place. Talk to a lawyer, find a really good lawyer. Please don't go online and type in best lawyer in my city. That is the worst thing people can do.
Yeah.
Because we all know the internet is run by money, and if you are a lawyer who needs clients, you're gonna pay for services online to be, like, the first click. I will tell you when I type in and I haven't done this in a while, I probably haven't done it in, like, a year, but I would every now and again, the firm, we would type in, like, "best lawyers in Los Angeles," and we would laugh. We're like, "We've never heard of any of these people." The first 10 listings, never heard of them. And our
That
firm
is
has been
so funny.
around
For a
since
long
the
time.
1970s.
Mhm.
We've practiced in the high net worth world. We're 18 lawyers. We're very well known in Los Angeles. We work with all the top law firms, like, all of them in Los Angeles. So for there to be someone who's online as the best family law lawyer in Los Angeles that we've never even heard of,
Yeah.
that's very rare. So please don't find your lawyers on a Google search for best lawyer in my town. That is a bad. Find lawyers through do
Referrals.
referrals, call people that you know and trust. If you have a friend who went through a divorce and it seemed to go pretty well, ask that friend for a referral,
Yeah.
right? Um, if you have an accountant or an estate planning attorney, reach out to those people and say, I think I might need to talk to a divorce lawyer. Who would you recommend? Lawyers generally know other good lawyers.
That's good
So,
advice.
and
Great advice.
accountants know good at lawyers
Mhm.
because they're the ones who are working with the lawyers,
Yeah,
and then they'll know, "Oh god, this divorce was a nightmare, but this one went well, so call this lawyer who handled this divorce well."
Yeah.
that's
I would
great
say
advice.
my advice if you're thinking about getting divorced is try to work it out with your spouse. Try to go to therapy, try to fall in love again. I don't think that marriage is 50-50. I think it could be 90-10. Then it could be 75-25. And I think you know, there's a way to fall in and out of love in a relationship throughout your lifetime. Because
Absolutely.
what happens after divorce, it's really gnarly. And if you have no other choice, then if you're lucky enough to get an attorney like you, and deal with it with a leveled mind and keeping your children at the forefront of your decisions is an important thing.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing I would add to that is to make sure you always have something of your own going on
That's the
Yes.
best.
Yes.
just your spouse and your children.
That's great
You ha
advice.
I see so many people who head to divorce when their kids leave for college. And it's because they just became like partners in the business of their partnership was raising children, and they had lost their connection. And then typically one spouse is busier than the other. So the one spouse who's busy is like, okay, this is fine. This is okay, whatever. And then the other spouse, the children leave and is like, oh my God, now what? And I don't have anything and I
Right.
feel empty
Who am
and I
I?
feel old. And I like, and now what am I supposed to do? Get a job now? I always say, to your point, because I agree with what you said, so just kind of leapfrogging on that, keep your connection, work on your marriage, go on dates, go on little weekends away. Work on marriage is not easy. There's no such thing as a perfect marriage. And so you have to work on it, but just do the work because it's worth it to really give it your best. And keep really looking out for yourself as far as your own personal happiness outside of your children and your spouse. What makes me happy? What do I do? What can I contribute? What do I have a job? Do I have a passion? Do I have a hobby? Do am I into some kind of athletic whatever it is, whatever keeps you happy, it's really important to make sure that that is all intact. And I this is one of the things that's being a divorce lawyer all of these years. And my husband's friends, always joke with him. They're like, "Oh my god, being married to Mel is like being married to an assassin," you know? And I always laugh about that. But I've seen what causes marriages to fail so many times that I've
Yeah.
made it a point to really look out for that, and not only in my own marriage, but with my friends. So I will say, my friends will joke about like, "Oh, my husband, he just wants to like always have sex with me, whatever." I'm like, "Ah,
Says
ha, ha,
every wife.
ha, 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 ha." And then I'm like, you should be having sex with your husband, right? Like, he's cute, you love him, go
You
have
need
sex
to.
with your husband. Like,
Otherwise, someone else will.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's these like little, and then and it's funny, I joke with my husband. I'm like, "Do you know how many marriages are together?" Because I'm like nudging my friends like, "Go on this. Yes, go accompany your husband to this thing he wants to take you on. Go do this with your husband. Go have, fun with your husband."
Yeah.
And nurture that.
Right. And nurture it instead of just focusing on your kids. You got to nurture the
Yes.
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
I think that we forget, like I have very young kids. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm busy. And then when my husband asks me to do something, sometimes I'm like, oh God. Then you're tired at night, but
Yeah.
it ebbs and flows. And I definitely have to make a hard effort sometimes. And I know he hates to hear that. But because of how crazy life is for me and the stage I'm at, I have to make a hard effort to participate and
Yeah.
be a very active participate and date him and love it.
Exactly.
And I always say this,
Exactly.
it's not weird, and Devin gets mad at me for this. Sometimes I schedule, not that I schedule sex, but I'm like, we're gonna have sex tonight because I have to, because we're busy every other night. And there's nothing wrong with that. If we can get it done and get our needs in and
Yeah. There's nothing wrong
fulfill
with
each
that.
other, nothing wrong with
There's
it.
nothing I've had clients who will say, and I only know my own experience and then my close girlfriends who we share what's going on, in our marriages as we girls do. But I've had clients say to me, like, "Oh gosh, I kind of should have known." I mean, I guess we haven't the last time we had sex was when little Jimmy was born. And I'm like,
Oh,
Jimmy's
What?
12. Like,
jeez.
wait. Jimmy, the one who just turned 12? Like,
I've
really?
heard
That's
I've
crazy.
heard this
Crazy.
before.
Oh, you guys.
That's
I'm gonna tell you
crazy.
this. My father was married many times. One of his wives that he was married to the longest, he told me that she refused to have sex and they didn't have sex. God bless both of them. They're not here anymore. They didn't have sex for 8 years. Like, of course my father left her for another woman. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
what do you expect the man to do? He wasn't dead. He was still, he wasn't young, but he needed it.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
8 years? What
it's
the hell?
I've seen it.
That's abuse.
I've seen
Aw,
it.
poor
I've
guy.
That is elderly abuse. Well, I appreciate you here so much. This was so insightful, and your vulnerability and your wisdom, and just like Jen said earlier, that you're a powerhouse. And shit, if I ever get divorced, I'm calling you. I hope I
Yeah.
never do, but you are the person I will refer out to. And just the ease and the confidence that you have, and compassion, and being able to balance that is truly tremendous. So I appreciate
Thanks,
you
Yeah.
here.
guys.
Thank you so much for coming, and we will have what you're serving.
Thanks, girls.
Thanks for tuning in. You can listen to What She's Having anywhere you get your podcasts. And don't forget to watch full episodes on YouTube. If you loved today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And follow us on Instagram at official What She's Having.